Hey guys, welcome back. If you are new here, I am Amber of Unique Upcycles, and in today's video, I'm actually going to be doing a commission piece. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so here is the entry table that I will be working on today. As you can see, it's got kind of a weird textured paint on it, so I'm going to go ahead and start by stripping everything down, and then also I will be painting the mirror to match.
Looking for someone not afraid to give it all to me. Get next to me, get next to me. All that I want is to get next to me.
I'm going to be using this quick stripper. It's a 15-minute formula. You want to pour it into a metal container, and then with a disposable brush, I'm just using a cheap chip brush, I am applying a very liberal coat onto that, and then let it sit for about 15 minutes before I came back in with a plastic putty scraper and scraped it all off. I did have to repeat this process 2 times.
At the top for me. Never thought that loving would be easy, but it's all for free. Won't cost a thing, so it's yours. Worth a try. Oh, this is the real thing. I'm down if you're down, boy. Get next to me, get next to me. All that I want is to get next to you, get next to you. Not asking for much, but it feels like the two of us are golden. How cold you see? We'll do you good, so take a chance with me. It's magical when you are.
After I finished the 2 rounds of stripper, I went in with afterwash, and this will remove any residue left behind from the stripper, as well as deactivate the chemical in the stripping, so it'll stop it from stripping. I am just using a very fine steel wool and just scrubbing it clean. Afterwards, I wiped it all down with a paper towel. I then decided that it would be easier to just do this in pieces, so I unscrewed the top. It came apart really easily, and then all the legs and everything else just kind of fell apart.
Get next to me, get next to me. Feels like the two of us are golden. How cold you see? What do you?
After I had taken it apart, I set the top upside down on some sawhorses so that I could finish stripping the sides. This table was kind of a really weird combination. The top was all MDF, and then the legs were actually solid wood. So I didn't want to sand everything off of the MDF and risk tearing it all up, so I stripped the top, and then I moved on to sanding the legs with my palm sander because I wasn't worried about like burning through any MDF or anything like that.
I want to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my head down if I want.
So the bottom shelf wasn't original to the piece. My client's husband actually made that for her out of plywood. So I did 2 coats of Zinsser bin shellac primer on the entire piece, but on the plywood, I made sure that I really sanded it good in between coats because it kept opening up the grains. So I wanted to make the plywood look as good as I could.
So much better. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws.
So normally I don't paint the underneath or the insides of tables because it's just kind of a waste of paint as it's not seen. I thought this was just dirt originally, but after I cleaned it, I realized that it was MDF that had water damage. So I sanded it down with a 240 and got it as smooth as I could, and then I primed it and sanded in between each coat of primer to really seal it in and get it as smooth as possible. My client picked the color Oyster Gray by Melange, and on the website it's described as a very light, warm gray. It is a almost white looking gray, just depends on kind of what it's against. If it's against white, it looks more gray. If it's against gray, it looks more white. So it's kind of one of those chameleon colors. I did apply a total of 3 coats with my zebra chisel brush to the entire piece.
Box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. You can. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, you don't have to hide it. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, don't hide it.
To get along these edges, I switched over to my Melange Artist Detail Brush. It's got a really long handle, so it comes in handy when you need to get into like little tight corners or little edges, stuff like that. It's a pretty good little brush. So when it came to painting the mirror, I didn't prime it because I didn't feel like I needed to. I gave it a good clean and a scuff sand, and then I just used the same paint with my zebra square brush and the same top coat that I will be using to seal the rest of the piece on it. After I finished all 3 coats, I used an 800 grit superfine sandpaper and just put it on a sanding block and gave everything a really good light sand to get away any texture and just make it silky smooth. To seal in all my paint, I'm going to be using Polyvine Wax Finish Varnish in Dead Flat, and I'm applying this with my Polyvine 2-inch varnish brush. In case you guys didn't know, Mélange has paint brushes, top coats, all that stuff that you guys can use my discount code on. So I will have a complete list of everything that I've used in this video in the description, but I do break it up into a little section where I list what you guys can use my code on that I've used in this video.
Every day, 24/7, you call my name, and I will come running, yeah, every day, 24/7, yeah, every day.
Okay, and before we get into the final reveal, let's take a look back and remember what we started with. And here is the completed look. I know it's been probably about a hot minute since I've done a neutral color. What do you guys think about this look compared to the crackly paint that it originally started with? And at the very end, I will put a picture with the mirror in it that I photoshopped an image in because I'm sure you guys didn't want to be blinded by my ring light reflection. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will see you guys next weekend. Thanks for watching.
You broke my chains and released me, and days turned into night.